They called me responsible. That was my label since I was 10. The one who'd help out, keep quiet, figure things out. I thought that meant love. Didn't. It meant I was useful. I'm Ethan. 34. Unmarried. No kids. Tech consultant. Decent income, decent house, and a lifetime seat at the family table as a utility, not a person. I was the airport guy, the rent guy, the fix my phone guy. I never said no. I thought showing up meant I mattered. A few days before Christmas, they planned a family trip. 17 people. For cars. Group chat, Airbnb, ski gear, all carefully arranged. No one told me. I found out the day they left. The house was silent. I called Mom. Her voice flickered with fake surprise. "Oh, we thought you were in the car with your cousins." That lie cracked the whole thing open. 2 hours later, my sister sent a message to the wrong group. "He really didn't go. Gee, our plan worked. Our plan. Not a mix-up. Not a mistake. Plan." That's when it hit me. Every charge, every booking, every borrowed card wasn't random. It was calculated. Netflix, Amazon, Spotify, mine. The Airbnb, $12,500. On my card, designer coats for a resort I'd never see. My name, my money, their trip. And they assumed I wouldn't notice. But I did. That night, sitting in the dark, phone in one hand, receipts in the other, it all clicked. They didn't expect rage. Because responsible people don't explode. They go quiet. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't scream, didn't send a message. I just logged in. First, Airbnb. One click, reservation gone. Cancelled. Flagged for fraud. The Colorado chalet my sister bragged about in her story? No longer available. Then the subscriptions. Amazon. Logged out every device, changed the password. Spotify? Gone. Netflix? Deactivated. Every profile, even the kids' one, deleted. They'd planned to live off my accounts like barnacles on a boat. But the boat wasn't sailing anymore. I dug deeper. Receipts, delivery addresses, logins. The ski jackets? Ordered under my name, shipped to the resort, their sizes. The charges read like a bad novel with a predictable ending, lift tickets, spa treatments, post-ski massages. All on me. Then the final insult. My sister used my insurance for a checkup. I only knew because I got the bill. When I called the clinic, the receptionist hesitated and asked, "Wait, you're not Melissa?" "No, I'm not." That's when it clicked. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. No confrontation. Just proof. So I collected it. Screenshots of group chats. Statements with their purchases. Audio clips of phone calls where they laughed about how I'd never notice. Then I RSVP'd to Christmas dinner. No one had invited me, but the house they were renting, booked under my name. When I walked in, 17 heads turned. Forks froze midair. My sister went pale. My mother opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I smiled and opened the folder. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't even sit down. I stood at the head of the table like I'd been asked to give a toast. The forgotten son delivering dessert with a side of facts. First, the screenshot. I held up my phone. The group chat titled, "Ski Squad." 16 names. No Ethan. And at the bottom, my sister's message. "He really didn't go. Gee, our plan worked." Mouths opened. No one spoke. So I continued. From my folder, I pulled the Airbnb invoice. "This," I said, "was charged to my business card. Then the printouts. Amazon orders shipped to my mom's house. A $300 ski jacket sent to my brother-in-law. A Spotify family plan listing Melly, Dad, Uncle G." Then I hit play on a voice memo. He's never even used the account. He doesn't care. He probably thinks the charges are his. My sister's voice. She stared at her plate like it held answers. "And this," I added, sliding over a health insurance statement. "Someone used my medical ID number last month. Guess who?" I didn't ask for comments. This wasn't a discussion. It was a presentation. And I was the keynote speaker they forgot to book. My mother stammered something about miscommunication. My uncle chuckled nervously. We thought you were okay with it. No, I said. You thought I wouldn't notice. I reached into my jacket and placed a single card on the table. This party, I said, was paid for by the one you left out. The card read, "Not included. Founder Ethan Cole. Shared spaces for people who got left behind." Beneath it, in small print, "He really didn't go. Our plan worked. No one moved. No applause. It wasn't that kind of performance." I walked out. Didn't look back. They didn't chase me. Not that night. Not the next morning. And maybe that was the most honest thing they'd ever done. Letting me walk away without pretending they were sorry. Back home, I poured a glass of water and stared out the window. Snow was falling, quiet and slow. Peaceful if you didn't know what it had just buried. My phone buzzed. First came the texts. "Mom, can we talk?" "Melissa, you didn't have to humiliate us." "Uncle Greg, kinda dramatic, don't you think? Right? Years of using me? Acceptable. One night of facts. Dramatic." I didn't respond. Just forwarded everything to a new email and filed it under one word. Receipts. The next few days were silent, from them at least. Then something strange happened. The story started to spread. It began as a whisper, a screenshot shared with a friend. Then another. Then a Reddit post. Guy gets cut out of family vacation after paying for everything. Doesn't yell. Just cancels it all and exposes the receipts at Christmas dinner. It blew up overnight. Within 72 hours, it was everywhere. Messages poured in, not just sympathy but recognition. I was the responsible one too. My family used my student loans. Thank you. I've never said it out loud. Somewhere between the fourth and fifth article, a journalist reached out asking for a quote. I declined. This wasn't about clout. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was building something. A space. An idea. Not included wasn't just a card anymore. It was a blueprint. I rented a small storefront on the edge of downtown. Glass front, high ceilings. Quiet enough for thinking. Warm enough for staying. The name on the door? Not included. A co-working space for the overlooked. The responsible ones. The fixers. The you've got it together types. Leaned on then left behind. Inside, I kept it simple. Soft lighting, free coffee, fast Wi-Fi, and one glass display by the front desk. Inside it, the screenshot. "He really didn't go. Gee, our plan worked." Below it, etched in clean lettering. "And now I am here." It wasn't revenge. It was recognition. A quiet flag planted on solid ground. Within weeks, people started showing up, writers, developers, designers, nurses, teachers, all with the same weight behind their eyes. The weight of being taken for granted. Of becoming a support beam in someone else's life. They came for the Wi-Fi. They stayed for what no one else gave them. Understanding. One guy told me, "My sister used my credit to lease her car. I never even got a thank you." A woman said, "I raised my brothers while my mom chased her boyfriend across the country. She still calls me too sensitive." They didn't want pity, just space to breathe. And Not Included gave them that. One afternoon, I found a handwritten note under a coffee cup. "This place makes me feel seen. Thank you." I read it twice, then tucked it in the drawer with the lease agreement, the one I signed on my own. No co-signers. No borrowed trust. Just me. For the first time, I wasn't someone's backup plan. I was building my own. Word spread quickly. First, it was forum posts, then podcast invites. One morning, a producer from a national news outlet emailed, "We're doing a segment on silent family estrangement. Your story is exactly what people need to hear." I didn't want a camera crew in my face, but I said yes, not for me, but for everyone who messaged. This happened to me, too. The interview was short, clean, honest. No dramatics, no background music, just facts. I told them everything, the silence, the setup, the receipts, the dinner. I told them about Not Included and why the name mattered. Because the hardest part of betrayal isn't the act. It's realizing how many people quietly signed off on it. When the story aired, the response was overwhelming. Thousands of messages, emails, letters. People weren't looking for revenge. They were looking for words. Proof they weren't imagining it. One message stayed with me. It came from Leo in Oregon. They called me dependable, but what they meant was disposable. Thank you for showing us we're not crazy. That hit deeper than I expected. Because that's the truth no one says out loud. We're not angry. We're exhausted. Exhausted from giving and being told it's love. From being left out of photos. From being the emergency fund and the forgotten seat at the table. But something had shifted. The invisible had a voice. And not included wasn't just a building anymore. It was a movement. I hadn't spoken to my sister since Christmas. Not a word. Then, 2 weeks after the story aired, my phone lit up. Melissa. I let it ring. Then again. Then to voicemail. She left one. Ethan, hey. I know you're mad, and I probably deserve that. I didn't know it would go this far. Can we just talk? No apology. No ownership. Just discomfort because now people were watching. That was always the thing with Melissa. Image came first. Guilt only showed up when the spotlight did. I didn't call her back. But I did get another call from a production company. They wanted to option the story for a docuseries. Said it struck a nerve in their entire team. Called the family dynamics poignant and devastatingly common. I told them I'd think about it. Later that afternoon, I stood in the middle of Not Included, watching the newest members move through the space. Some were writing. Some on calls. One just sat by the window, sipping tea with the calm of someone who'd finally stopped explaining themselves. And it hit me. This was never about punishing my family. It was about proving, mostly to myself, that I wasn't just the responsible one. I was the one they couldn't manipulate anymore. And nothing scared them more than that. It was bound to happen. One of my cousins, the only one who ever checked in without needing something, texted me. Hey, just so you know, your mom wants to have a family meeting. At her place. Sunday. Says it's important. I stared at the screen. The wording said it all. A meeting. Not a dinner. Not a conversation. A boardroom in disguise. I replied with one word, not attending. He didn't argue. Just sent back, can't say I blame you. Still, curiosity crept in. So I asked around. Quietly. Turns out it wasn't about reconciliation. They were planning an intervention. For me. Apparently, I had humiliated the family, misrepresented the situation, and made private matters public. Funny how betrayal is always private. But the consequences? Those are supposed to be shared. They wanted me to walk it back. Do a follow-up interview. Clean up their mess. I didn't respond. Instead, I posted a message on Not Included's bulletin board. No names. Just truth. You are not obligated to return to the fire just because your absence makes them uncomfortable. I watched people stop and read it. Some nodded. Some took photos. One woman whispered, "That's exactly it." They never saw me as family. They saw me as function. And the moment I stopped performing, they called it betrayal. That's not family. That's dependency dressed in holiday sweaters. 2 weeks after I declined the family meeting, I got an email from a name I recognized, not from my past, but from Netflix. They wanted to talk. A director had seen the news segment and read the Reddit thread. She said the story struck a chord. That silent betrayal wrapped in politeness was something people needed to see. They didn't want a dramatization. They wanted a documentary. Real. Unfiltered. Quiet and sharp, the way it feels when the knife doesn't stab, just slides in slow enough to make you question if it's happening at all. I agreed to a meeting. The director, Claire, came to Not Included. No camera crew. Just a notebook and the look of someone who'd lived the story in her own way. "You don't look like revenge," she said after we sat down. "You look like closure." "I'm not trying to burn them," I told her. "Just want people to understand the deepest betrayals don't come from enemies. They come from people who say we're family right before they take something from you." She nodded. "We're not making a villain story. We're making a mirror." I looked around the room, open desks, warm light, people breathing fully for the first time in years. "You can film here," I said. "But the story starts at the table. The dinner. That's when everything snapped into focus." Claire smiled. "Then that's where we begin." And just like that, the story meant to be buried under holiday silence became a story the world was waiting to hear. It came in the middle of the night. No subject line. Just an email from an address I hadn't seen in years, my mother's. She'd never been much for digital anything. Used to call me when her tablet froze because she left it on the stove. But now? Suddenly she remembered how to type. The message was short. I watched your interview. I didn't know you felt that way. I wish you'd come to us first instead of making it public. That line, come to us first, hit like lead. Because I had. In 1,000 small ways. Every holiday I showed up with gifts I couldn't afford. Every text I answered. Every time I helped them move, fix, pay, solve. But never once did anyone ask, how are you holding up, Ethan? It wasn't that I didn't speak. It's that they never listened. I closed the email. Didn't respond. Instead, I wrote a letter. Not to her, to myself. To the version of me that still wondered if he was overreacting. The one who stared too long at his phone, waiting for a reply that never came. The letter read, you weren't crazy. You weren't petty. You were just the only one awake. In a house full of people. Pretending the lights still worked. I folded it and placed it in the drawer behind the front desk at Not Included, next to Leo's message, next to the thank yous and the me toos that made the weight easier to carry. My family hadn't been erased. They'd been revealed. And now finally, I could see them clearly. It was bound to happen. A letter arrived, certified, official-looking, wrapped in legal language just threatening enough to feel like a warning shot. From my sister's attorney. Cease and desist. Defamation. Intentional harm to reputation. Apparently, exposing her misuse of my health insurance with proof was now damaging to her professional future. As if using my ID for a medical appointment was just a quirky misunderstanding. I sent the letter to my attorney. He laughed. She's bluffing, he said. You're well within your rights. You never named her publicly. And what you got? That's called evidence. Still, it told me everything I needed to know. They weren't sorry. They were cornered. And cornered people don't apologize, they attack. But I didn't flinch. I'd spent too long second-guessing myself. Never again. Instead, I turned it into policy at Not Included. We launched a new program called Paper Trail, a resource hub for people dealing with quiet abuse, financial manipulation, identity misuse, power games disguised as family loyalty, legal templates, referral partners, quiet education. It wasn't flashy. It was necessary. The kind of quiet defense you need in a world that tells you to move on while you're still bleeding. The day we launched, someone left a handwritten note at the front desk. This would have saved me 5 years and $22,000. Thank you. I pinned it under glass right beside the screenshot. He really didn't go. OMG. Our plan worked. I hadn't just made a space. I'd built armor. It came out of nowhere. Late one evening, I was closing up Not Included when my phone lit up with a voicemail. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. But something told me to listen. Hey, Ethan, it's Jenna. From HR. I used to work with your sister. I hope this isn't weird, I just didn't know who else to tell. Her voice cracked. Then steadied. Back when she used your insurance. She told people you offered it. Said you were just that kind of brother. Even joked that you'd never notice because you were too busy trying to be perfect. I didn't think much of it then, but after everything that came out, I just... Silence. Then, she knew exactly what she was doing. I'm sorry I stayed quiet. I sat there, lights off, phone in hand, letting the words echo in a room that suddenly felt heavier. It wasn't the lie that hit hardest. It was the ease of it. The way she turned my silence into a weapon and called it kindness. That's the thing about being the good one. People assume you'll stay quiet. That you'll keep taking the hits without ever swinging back. But silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. I saved the voicemail and filed it under insurance fraud audio. Not to use it. Just to have it. Because sometimes recovery isn't about revenge. It's about readiness. And that night, as I stepped out into the cold, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Not anger. Not grief. Relief. Because the worst had already happened. And I was still here. They say closure is a conversation, some heartfelt exchange where both sides speak their truths and walk away lighter. That's a lie. Closure isn't a dialogue. It's a decision. And mine came quietly one Sunday morning. I was at Not Included early, sorting invoices, when a text lit up my phone. From my mother. Would love to meet for coffee. Just the two of us. No preamble. No apology. Just coffee, as if we could reset over lattes and silence. I stared at the screen for a long time. I thought about her voice every time she asked for just a little help. The way she'd say, "You've always been so dependable," like it was praise, not a leash. I thought about Christmas dinner. How she didn't stop them. How she stood by. How I became an invisible checkbook with a heartbeat. Then I thought about what she didn't say. Not once had she asked, "Why did this hurt you?" That's when I knew. I didn't need the coffee. I didn't need the conversation. I needed the boundary. So I replied, "Thank you for the invitation. But I've built something new now. And it doesn't include people. Who only come around when the cameras are off. She didn't respond. And that silence? That was the real answer. I put the phone down and opened the doors to not included. As the first members walked in, heads full of work, hearts full of untold stories, I realized. The family I'd always wanted? It was already here. There's a moment when the weight starts to shift, not because it gets lighter, but because you stop carrying it alone. For me, that moment came on a Wednesday afternoon. I was walking past the community wall at Not Included, a corkboard for notes, job leads, book recommendations. But today, someone had added something else. A Polaroid. No caption. Just a blurry photo of a dinner table, clearly a family holiday with one chair noticeably empty. Pinned next to it was a sticky note. This was the year they forgot to invite me. I don't chase chairs anymore. I build my own table. I stared at it for a long time. That's what this place had become, not an office, not a brand, but a quiet revolt. A home for people like me, the ones called strong because we never broke, not because we weren't broken. That night, I hosted our first community dinner. No speeches. No head table. Just mismatched chairs, homemade food, and stories that all began the same way. They always said I was the reliable one. One guy covered his brother's rent for years until he needed help and got blocked. A woman designed her cousin's wedding for free, then wasn't invited to the bridal shower. Another drove 7 years of airport rides until the one time she asked, no one showed up. We didn't cry. We didn't rant. We laughed. Not bitterly, just knowingly. We'd all been the helper. The strong one. The one who always understands. And we were done. Done apologizing for outgrowing our roles. Done waiting for thank yous that never came. Done shrinking to fit someone else's comfort zone. As people left that night, one woman turned to me and said, I used to think I was the only one. I just nodded. Me too. The last call came in early spring. I almost didn't pick up. The number was local, unrecognized. But some old reflex still had me curious. Ethan? It's your father. I hadn't heard that voice in over 3 years. He was calm. Almost gentle. Said he'd seen the interviews. Said he didn't know things had gone that far. Said he was willing to talk. Willing. As if reconciliation was a favor he was offering. I listened. Said nothing. Then came the pitch. Let's meet for lunch. Just us. We don't have to talk about the others. But he was one of the others. He didn't make the reservations. He didn't charge my card. He didn't send the message. But he was there. There when I was written out. There when the lie was told. There when I stood at the dinner table and no one reached for my hand. And he said nothing. So I gave him the only honest answer I had. No. He paused. I'm still your father. No, I replied. You were my father. Until I realized I was just your convenience. Then I hung up. No second thoughts. No regret. Because closure isn't always a clean goodbye. Sometimes it's a quiet door that stays shut. And the peace that finally moves in after. That week, I updated the sign outside Not Included. Just one new line etched beneath the logo. We don't chase chairs. We build tables. And inside, on the wall next to the screenshot, the notes, and the Polaroids, I added one last frame. A mirror. Because sometimes the only thing we need is to finally see ourselves. Not as they used us, but as we are.